and it really, to be honest with you, it was birthed from Cheetah Rock. When Cheetah Rock them started doing the shoot, the damn uh Quan, help me with that. What was the name of it? The shoe warehouse? No, what was it called?
Oh, you talking about the Millennium?
No, it was Cheetah Rock had the shoe place
Oh,
on Florence, the
oh, Playground. It was a
playground.
play.
It
It was a
really
playground.
came, yeah. It was birthed from Cheetah Rock and it was Jim Brown. Because I was the first ones with Jim Brown, and I brought Big Keith Stone up to Jim Brown years ago. So I was with Jim before Jim even had the name American.
Mm.
So I've been doing this work, man, even before I went to jail. You feel me?
Awful long time.
So
Yeah,
it
because
was
I
just,
remember going to the
yeah,
American with you, and I was 16 years old.
yeah,
Well, I'm
yes,
50
sir.
now.
I was in a, I was the first generation. I was the first generation with Jim, and that's how that was
Mhm.
birthed. And then just really my influence in Islam and wanted to be able to be one of the caliphs to help, to be somebody known for helping and not be known as a burden to my community or my people.
Let
That
me
part.
ask Quan something real quick while he up here. So Quan is 16, you around while he doing this, and you a Muslim, and at the same time, that's when you forced him to be a manager and get into this music. Let's talk about that real quick because a lot of people don't even really understand that history and how Islam played a part in that, brother.
Well, being that I used to attend the American programs with them, I was picking up the knowledge and seeing the active, the community benefit that it had. Seeing also bro's organizational skills at the same time. So at the same time, I was just into because Big Daddy Kane used to also be up at Jim Brown's house
Jim
at the
Brown
time
House, yep,
as well.
yep,
So
he
you know what I'm
was.
saying. So it
He
was
was
some
living with Jim.
camaraderie with that. Yeah. So at the time, I'm seeing bro's organizational skills. He was already managing things at the time, and I was transitioning, learning more about the music business and wanting to have more control and wanting to see more of my people. So bro was the prime candidate. He had no interest in the music business at the time. And we
Now what's
talking about
up?
80, yeah, we talking about 89, 90, 88, 89. So,
Hey,
back then.
you remember, Quan, I had just signed a contract to do my own club. I had just started my own company where I was starting a little, it was called Delicious Entertainment.
Club
And,
promoting. Yep.
club promoting. It was called Delicious Entertainment. And, just started that. So did.
And he wanted to know
I had,
more. So I was
yeah, I
doing
want that as,
videos,
yep.
introducing them to Wolf and Epic, who were like major producers, producing BBD
Yeah,
and New Edition and MC Light at the time, having them meet with
yeah.
those guys. They was mover makers coming to the video sets because he just wanted to know. He was like, well, let me see what's going on. And, you know what I'm saying? Of course, my father was in the business already and they was buddies. So he was doing this research back then, unbeknownst to what most people don't know.
And
So he carried that
I,
research on throughout his prison term, and we kept in contact,
right,
which led up to the
right.
Rap-A-Lot situation and so forth. A lot of people don't know about that.
Speak a
Yeah.
little bit on it.
Yeah, so I mean, saying so that's where the interest in the music business, the business side of it came in. And of course, once I do that, then I'm inherited. I'm getting questioned a lot to make sure I'm making the right moves and so forth. And here we are today. You know what I'm saying? Being advised to making moves. I met Jay Prince from that owned the Rap-A-Lot. He was James Smith at the time before he changed his name. I met him at the studio with Battle Cat. I was already advised that I will be approached by some other individuals, and bro was counseling me through all the moves back then. You know what I'm
You
saying?
know
We
what?
had our head in the game. You know.
Let me break your wisdom, man. You know what I find to be strange in this day and time is
Mm-hmm.
how we as black men hate on other black men. The whole time I was gone, I was proud to see the greatness of Jay Prince. I was proud to see the greatness of Master P. I was proud to see. I used to. I looked at it like if they could do it, I could do it. I never looked at it like I wanted to envy them dudes or hate them dudes or stress them dudes. I never had that. I always looked at these dudes like, man, they out here, they making it, they making an example. and we could do it. When Master P got his deal, I felt like shit. We all won. All the great black men. We can be great now. And I knew Jay Prince's whole story. I looked at all of them. I looked at Donald Trump. I looked at when I came home. I came home with the mentality I want to join those clubs and be great like these dudes was. That's why even when my brother Suge was out here, we never had no problem with Puffy and none of them dudes. Because I looked up to these dudes, and I'm older than some of them. But I looked at dude's work ethic. Even to this day, I look at a dude and I measure a dude by his work ethic. What he gonna do? What he gonna go accomplish? We're in a different era now, where we gotta feel like we gotta hate and shit on each other, and it's acceptable by the young people. But that ain't really how I go. That
Well,
ain't
they
really how I
think that's
should
the
be
way.
going.
Yeah, they think that's the
And
way. They think that's the shortcut. You know.
that ain't it, man. You ain't gonna make it shitting on nobody. You know what I mean? And I guess you are. I guess everybody want to be like that white boy. That was crazy dissing everybody, and
Right.
everybody want to be like Wendy Williams. But I can tell you for myself personally, I looked up to people, and I don't have no problem doing it. I felt overwhelmed when I went to Jay's Island. I feel like, man, that's one of us. I feel like that's my brother. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my motivation. Like being on Jay's Island is a motivation, man. Like to see how great this man and what he been through and what he's still going through, with people hating on him and all that stuff, man. I feel like that's one of our champions. What
Right.
50 Cent is doing. I'm trying to mimic what 50 Cent is doing. You know what I mean? I sit down and film things. And my passion and my love has always been this camera and always been film. And if anybody who know me tell you I used to film before I was incarcerated. I used to have I got the VHS tapes of that my auntie and them didn't record over when they was recording. I was so heartbroken when I came home and they had recorded all my children, General Hospital, and all that over the tapes of the football games, man, that we played with the homies. But if anybody who know me, back in the 80s, bro, when I came home, I was recording our video games. I mean, our football games. I was documenting our shit back then. You know what
Right.
I mean? Because that's always been my passion. But I
Uh,
mean, and I just said that to say that we need to change how we look and view ourselves, and we need to, at some point, as a people, stop making it acceptable. Because when you look and like and you comment on these dudes' pages where they shitting on somebody, you helping them. The only way to stop this and to fight against this ignorance is to strike it or report it. If you make any comment, even if you're saying you don't like it or something negative about it, that helps them in the algorithm. Any
fact.
comments for or against, you need to report it. And that's the only way it's going to legally or logically stop what these lands is doing. But I just want to say that, and I say that to all you dudes. It's fine to be in music. It's fine to be in film. You're not going to make it shitting on nobody. You will make it an example of your work. And then somebody seeing it and say, oh, let me help you with that.
Fact.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
So, Big U, let me ask you a question. How does it feel becoming a pillar of your community? Because you've been doing this for 20 years and you're definitely
Yeah.
plugging holes where there's a need. So, how does that feel?
It feels great. I was hurt. I was hurt for maybe 4 or 5 hours thinking like, damn, like, but then I was thinking in my mind, like, shit, I'm just gonna find a way to go break the bank and go get a gang of new toys, and we're gonna do it on Christmas. You know what I mean? I wasn't. My resolve was never down. It's just okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put this in me. Now I got to go figure out another way to do this. You know what I mean? So I wasn't never going. It wasn't out. I wasn't quitting. It wasn't never that. But I had a momentary, and I'm like, okay, now I got to figure out. I might not be able to get the toys to them today. And what was so beautiful, we had the rides, we had the snow. The kids didn't actually know. A lot of them didn't know what was going on. And as we got past the time we usually give out the toys, about 150 kids had left and they started leaving. So I kind of got a little bit more depressed at that point. And that's when the news came and it was like, y'all got a truck coming. And right when they were saying that the trucks was pulling in, then they said that the fire department's coming. So to answer your question, when I see my son and I see the kids that I help, and I get kids calling me saying, "Man, I named my son after you, Unc," or I'm gonna put my son in your program. We're gonna do this. We're gonna make Crenshaw great. I love it.
No,
To hear
that's
somebody
beautiful
saying
too.
that they named your son after you. Excuse me.
No, I was saying that's beautiful because your son was out there with you, and obviously he's been there with you through these 20 years, watching you do this. So now for him to actually be a part of it, working side by
Hmm.
side with you, that builds a branch onto your legacy that's going to continue on. So I definitely salute you with what you're doing.
Yeah, my
Guy,
oldest, all three of my boys was there. All three of my biological boys was there. But it was probably 30, 40 of my adopted boys who were there and also had their children there. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Who help us do all of this stuff. Like we don't do none of the stuff we can do by ourselves. None of it. Mark Martin,
you
Asani,
better.
Spank, Board, UK, all of these dudes, we couldn't do this without them. PJ, you know what I mean? Like Quan, Heb, dudes. I mean, these are all the people that come out and help support us in every kind of way. You know, shoot. Well, Yael and Deuce came out and gave backpacks out to what event was that? I do so many. What
That
event
was
was that
back to
backpack?
We
school,
was at
wasn't it?
Crenshaw after school.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
That
school
was
back to
who?
school event, back to school
That
event
was
right before.
that was our back to school event. They came out and gave out backpacks. Buddha from Spray Ground, he gives us backpacks every year. It's so many people that help us to make this community what it is and the reach. Man, let me just say this: I couldn't be me without them, and I'm just the motivating factor in trying to organize a way to make it happen. Deion Taylor stepped up. You know what I mean? We got help coming from so many different people. Shaquille O'Neal bought us a bus. Let me tell you about that because I don't want this to go unscrutinized. We drove a bus that was donated to us from one of my partners, and the bus broke down. And on the way to Arizona, it was so hot, the air conditioner just broke. I called Shaq while I was on the road laughing and was showing Shaq. Shaq had called me about something else. And while I was on the bus and I showed Shaq, man, we on the bus, the air conditioning. I got my kids right here in the back riding with me, and they listened to this interview. But Shaq heard that. Shaq heard that. And bro, when it got us a bus, we didn't ask you for the bus. I didn't ask you for the money. He called me one day and he's like, "Hey, I got something for to pull up on you. Where you at?" And I'm told him where I was. Pull up with a big old giant white bus. This man that bought us. You know what I mean?
Wow.
That was a senseless act of kindness, and I didn't ask him for nothing. Then I turned around and heard rumors that Big you pressed man, I ain't pressed nobody for nothing. That man bought that on his own. Ain't gave me no money, ain't did nothing. That man went and got a bus because we need a bus. And now we let other people from different organizations use the bus and we not using it. You know what I'm saying? We covered it. Not only they cover the insurance and the driver, but
Mhm.
it's not just working for us. It's working for
Right.
every other organizations, other people. Anybody can, not just anybody, but we let other people use that, and that's coming from Shaq.
Right. That has to be something that, I know it doesn't stop you from doing what you're doing, but you do all of this good and then people try to tear it down. But what I've noticed about you is you don't let it stop you. You use that as motivation. So,
All the time.
that says a lot for your character within itself. What would you say to somebody? What advice would you have for someone who's trying to do something like this in their own community?
I would say reach out to people, accept whatever help you can get, and when the help don't come back the next time, don't get mad at it. You know what I mean? Because I had a lot of people who help, and then they change and help, and it come and go. You just got to keep fighting for it. That's it. And when people see what you're doing, they'll reach out. And to be honest with you, this probably turned out to be the most toys we ever had.
Wow.
Excuse me. It's might have been the most toys we ever had at one given time. We was able to put kids in line, grab a toy, get back in line, grab a toy, get back in line. And then we it was a blessing because how it happened. And then it
Right.
was so hurtful because my son had came and it was his first one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Here's a kid. I mean, he ain't a kid. He don't like being called a kid, but he's 20, 25 years old. He in the NFL. It's his
Right.
first. We went to Jim Gilliam Park first.
Mm-hmm.
When we left the house, we went to Jim Gilliam Park with toys that we had picked up from my homegirl Kenya. And one of our partners had donated, I can't remember his name, dang, from New York who had donated the toys, and I'm sorry for that. So we already had those toys in my truck. So we just
Mm-hmm.
left. We go to Jim Gilliam Park, and they love him up there. And that shows you how our community is growing. Because
Right.
Jim Gilliam Park is a park that I could have never walked in
Hmm.
15,
Mm.
20 years ago, thanks to Big Tone and T. Rogers and some of the other brothers over there that's holding it down. You know what I mean? And my boy Rat over there. And, you know, it's just, it was amazing. It was an amazing day. And I'm just so glad that it didn't end that way. It was so beautiful for me to see my son embraced by all of LA. Not no blue. He was embraced by the Bloods. He was embraced by the Crips. He embraced by everybody. And they look at him as an example of what they can do with their own kids.
Proud
You know what
Absolutely.
I
father.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel good that he can go anywhere. You know what I mean? And he can walk around in LA and people go embrace him. And y'all, to see him be able to be in Jim Gilliam Park and me be able to get to Jim Gilliam Park because of him is a win.
Before I pass this over to Diamond, I know I had one more, but I'm gonna ask you this. Aside from this event, can you share with us what that moment was that you had that not only made you feel it was all worth it, but inspired you to keep going with what you were doing?
When they said the toys was on the way, it was the toys on the way. I ain't even gonna lie. I was sitting next to my wife, and my wife was crying earlier when she found out when we found out what happened. She left. My wife had left. She was so hurt, and she left.